and we want to keep this going. There it is. It's a great t-shirt. I love the Sabres logo with the scissors through it. It's awesome.
Yeah, and we're off to a terrific start because of your generosity. So keep it going. Let's hit some record numbers here and crest way over 50,000. And obviously, it's a super special broadcast. That's what we look forward to on March the 28th. Oh my gosh, we're almost out of time. Gilles Amel's birthday on this day. Gilles was a good Sabre for 6 years. You know what is? You know what you'll love about this? He was traded to Winnipeg. The return, Scott Arniel.
Oh.
So on that note, we'll talk Shayna Golden on the show tomorrow. It's a game day. We'll see you then.
Spreadsheets, clunky software, 100 different logins just to run your business? Ah.
There's a better way. Odoo. One simple, connected platform that handles sales, inventory, accounting, and more, so you can focus on growing, not juggling. Make the switch today at odoo.com. That's ODOO.com.
Baseball is back. Opening night is one exclusive game, and it's live on Netflix. On Wednesday, March 25th, the New York Yankees, led by seven-time All-Star Aaron Judge, head to the Bay Area to face Rafael Devers and the San Francisco Giants. A brand new way to watch Major League Baseball, and it all starts here. MLB opening night, Yankees vs. Giants, live on Netflix, Wednesday, March 25th at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific.
I'm John Welcome into the Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia, where the voice of the Rochester fan is heard. Pull up a stool and join us at 866-4326. This is WGR Rochester, and the Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia is on now.
2 hours of sports talk excellence here in my hometown of the Flower City. You found the Sports Bar. Pull up a stool and join us at 866-4326. That is the number to call. Our producer behind the scenes, Dan DeLorean, changing the lights back to red, white, and blue. The Bills colors here in the studio. We went all green yesterday. For everybody watching along on YouTube, our audience over there today, we welcome your comments there. You can leave a comment, and we'll read them a little bit. Our fine producer today, Tim Schneider, so we'll put him on camera here for waving his hand. The Sabres, I assume you stayed up for that because you go to bed at 4 a.m.
Yeah, it was a fun game.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, I am old. I fail as a sports talk show where I'm supposed to come in and give you all these great takes on the Buffalo Sabres, and that's it's tough when you've got to be at work first thing in the morning. But the Sabres get it done last night, and I think the thing that's most impressive is that we can put to rest any of the, I don't know about UPL, gave up 7 goals to Tampa. Ooh, that last second goal there. Last-minute goal to Washington, I don't know. No, he was spot on last night. Number one reason why the Sabres prevail. They get the win against a quality Vegas team. So Buffalo, today a travel day. They're in San Jose tomorrow night. And that's a Sharks team that you can see things are coming together, namely Celebrini. But that's a game the Sabres should win. So game 2, and again, the Sabres are on the road because, well, their home is being used by the NCAA. We will talk basketball today, 2 o'clock hour. Our favorite guy when it comes to betting is PJ Glasser, our expert. He will join us at 2:25, and we'll go over some of these brackets. If you're like me, I'm just taking in as much as I can. I'm not going to be the one that says, yeah, do this or give you the long shot or anything like that. We got to be authentic here in the Sports Bar. PJ's the guy that can kind of point us in the right direction. So use PJ Glasser as a resource. And what I probably shouldn't say this on the air, but let's just say that PJ invites me for fun into his, and I think I do pretty well. No, not even close. Like, wait a second. Like, this is like the Sharks of the Sharks, right? I'm like, okay, let me just kind of come in. And I didn't finish last, which is kind of a good thing. In fact, I think I finished ahead of Trista Crick one year, but it's like, PJ knows what he's talking about. That's the bottom line here. He will join us in the 2 o'clock hour. Nighthawk fans, we're going to have your guy. I can't say head coach. He's the interim head coach, Randy Mearns, who is original Rochester Nighthawk, 1995 Nighthawk. 17 years at Canisius, goes to Bonaventure.
Great place.
I know, that's you want to conduct the interview, be like, Randy, I love you. You were so great for Bonaventure. Randy Mearns will join us bottom of this hour, the Nighthawks home this Saturday night against the Vegas Desert Dogs. And for obvious reasons, this is an odd schedule this year for the Nighthawks. We didn't know, that there was going to be a season number 1 with the CBA, and by the time, a lot of moving parts. Remember, CBA, new arena management, oh, by the way, new Nighthawk ownership, all those things meant for this kind of weird schedule that got a lot of games in January, where if you're going up against the NFL playoffs, not ideal. And there's only a couple games here left at the end. This one, and then the final game is on April 19th. It's a Nighthawk team. Let me just kind of be blunt. They're farting around. They got to quit farting around. There is talent on this team. That's why the coach lost his job. And now can they get it together? Well, they didn't get it together on the road at Vegas. We'll talk to Randy Mearns coming up bottom of this hour. Again, our phone number, 866-4326. You can hit us up on X, our handle, WGR Rochester, as the proverbial table is set. I hate seeing Syracuse in this position. We talked to Mike Waters from the Syracuse Post-Standard on Friday. We talked to Mike McAllister from Syracuse 24/7. He does a great job covering the Orange. And the thought was, all right, there's 2 leading candidates But then last night to see one of those leading candidates, it's not McNamara, it's Brian Hodgson. He's not coming to Syracuse. No, he's either going to stay at South Florida, and going to work himself into a bigger paycheck, and you can't fault him for that, or maybe he goes to Providence, or maybe he goes somewhere else, okay? But he's not coming to Syracuse. Now, the way I look at this, and we try to look at all the angles, right, before you get upset, I think it's one of three things. A, and this is I'm trying to put a smiley face on you for Syracuse. Let's just say he understands he's going through the process, and I know I'm not the guy. But let me be out in front of this. And by being out in front of this, at least I can kind of either leverage Providence or my current employer. So he's saving face. The report, though, says he turned down Syracuse. And that report it's not a house report. This isn't coming from South Florida athletics or anything like that. I think it's more B. And this is the problem. And this is what people, like a good friend of the show, Damon Amendolara, who I would recommend his YouTube page because he goes into this. Hutchins probably like, what am I getting into here exactly? It's one thing where you're interviewing for the job, but then you're going over the checklist. And, you know, my friend from years ago, his name Mike Dozier, he would do this thing called the Ben Franklin close. You know what the Ben Franklin close is, Tim?
I do not.
Okay, so the Ben Franklin close is you get out a piece of paper, you write down pros, and you write down cons. Because nothing is 100%. If you're jumping from job to job, okay, what are the pros? Pros. All right, my paycheck's going to go up. Bigger conference. Okay, great. Cons. Ooh, weather. Yeah, South Florida. NIL. That would be the question, right? What resources do I have? That's probably the answer from John Wildhack or the new AD or whoever was heading this up. Like, I believe Boeheim and I believe others when they say, no, Syracuse isn't in the middle of the pack in the ACC. They're more in the bottom. And maybe it's just the fact that the ACC really isn't a fit where college sports in the Carolinas is not it's a religion. It really is. By religion, it's like they're going to pass around the basket. Time for you to give. Okay, great. Here you go. Like Clemson and Duke, North Carolina. Need I say more? Okay, that's the competition here, and it goes back to do we really want to be in the ACC? I guess we want to if you're going to be in football. Again, what am I getting into? How are we growing the NIL budget? And the new AD just took over. Brian Blair is his name, and he comes from Toledo, and he has this great resume of being one of the first in the MAC, if not the first, to say this is how we're going to put our collective together, and this is how we're going to win games. And the Rockets are this always little fun story that plays in the bowl game in Detroit, and hey, they make the tournament. Right, but it's not all of a sudden he shows up and poof, there's all this money here for the men's basketball team. Like, that's also, like, if you're doing the Ben Franklin close, that is a con. Big con. Do I have the resources? It's just turning the mirror around on us. It's like, wait a second here. You always thought Syracuse, hey, we're not a top 25 program. We're a top 10 program. Now the world has passed us by here. And it's going to take some time. It's going to figure out how do we talk to those alums and get on the same page, not alienating our fans, because one way you could do it is like Tennessee, where you're putting basically a surcharge on every ticket, like NIL surcharge. Like, if you notice, like when you go to a Red Wing game, say for instance, do they still do paper tickets? I think they still do paper tickets.
They do.
Yeah. Like, yeah, there's a county surcharge on it. All right. You go to a hotel in Vegas. Yeah, we're kind of used to that, right? Like you always get a surcharge. Well, in Tennessee, there's an NIL surcharge. Do we want to do that? Does everybody want to pay 10 extra bucks a ticket? I don't. You don't. What's the solution here? This is just college sports in general. Just, it stinks right now. And this is where we're at. And it's showing up. But what hurts about Hodgson is he's supposed to be one of us. Jamestown Community College, SUNY Fredonia, UB. This is New York State. And for how many years did you hear, like, we are the program for New York State, Syracuse Athletics? And there they were. They would advertise down at Yankee Stadium. They would play football games at Yankee Stadium. We are New York State's team. You can't even freaking get the guy from Jamestown. Jamestown freaking Community College turned you down. This is a tipping point. I'm sorry. And again, I don't want to just paint that scenario. It could be, I know I'm not the guy. I'm pulling myself out. It also could be, here's the third one. Hey, that's all well and good. Syracuse want him as a head coach, and, well, this is what we're going to offer you. Wait, it's what I'm making right now. Again, I don't know any of this, but I'm just presenting that scenario to you. So Syracuse back to the drawing board. And look, in the end, if it's Jerry McNamara, hey, that will get people excited, and he could turn into a good head coach. We just don't know. Anything's going to be a leap of faith. You hire, at this point, it's like, okay, if you're going to say, well, he doesn't have enough on his resume, you hired an athletic director from Toledo. Yes, he did all these great things in Toledo, Ohio. The analogy here, okay, Toledo in baseball is to Detroit. Okay, Detroit Major Leagues, Toledo Mud Hens, cute. Toledo is not the ACC. It never will be. So, completely different market, completely different ball game. I'm not wishing ill will on Brian Blair or anybody else, but this is just it's a really kind of dark time for Syracuse. And when have the Orange ever been kind of slapped in the face like this? 866-4326 is our phone number. We do have a Bill story today. And, yeah, I didn't have this, but and maybe, like, the question is, why didn't we notice that the Bills signed their backup or to a restricted free agent? Hey, we're going to offer you 1 year, $3.5 million. Really? That seems a lot for a guy who might not see the field if everything's going well. Ryan Vandermark. Now, his story was didn't play at the top level, went to UConn, was really good there. And 23, kind of came in, practice squad. I'm earning some spots. Did some playing time here for Buffalo. Seemed like a good reserve for this team. But the Vikings are striking here. They signed him to an offer sheet, 1 year, $4.2 million, which, if you're thinking, like, hey, this is a great way to get a starting left or right tackle, seems like he's just going to be the swing tackle out there, too. I could be wrong. Maybe a Viking fan could fill me in, but from everything I'm reading, seems like they're just doing this for depth as well. Now, to review here, and again, there's so many quirks when it comes to NFL free agency and rules when it comes to player personnel. Restricted free agents at this level, the Bills have 5 days to match it, as Vandermark is a restricted free agent. If they let Vandermark go, here's what you get. You get nothing. There's no draft pick compensation for Buffalo because of what the Bills tendered Vandermark at that level. If they tendered him a higher level, well, then the chances are the Vikings wouldn't have swooped in. But if the Vikings did, then maybe you would be getting a draft pick. That's not going to be the case. But I think, to me, it's clear. Even though the difference between what he would make in Buffalo and Minnesota is $700,000. Now, $700,000 to me or you, life-changing. I'd still be doing this show. I guarantee it, as long as they'll have me. But Might be taking an extra vacation or two, or maybe the executive producer, maybe I'll retire. I don't know. But $700,000 in NFL money is paltry. It is. Except when you're the Buffalo Bills. Except when, oh my gosh, what are we going to do with this cap? We're just trying everything. And there's going to be 1 year where, it's like the water balloon you're filling up. It's going to burst, and it's just going to be a big old mess, and that's when everything is going to blow up on the Bills. But we're not quite there yet, right? So Ryan Vandermark, is this worth $700,000 more? I think it gives you pause because it's not exactly $700,000 when it comes to the salary cap. In terms of real dollars, yes. But if you wipe off that $3.5 million, it's not like $3.5 million in space comes automatically on the books. It's just that Vandermark was in the top 51. So by taking him off somebody else, it's making about $1 million. The way I estimate it is if you let Vandermark walk, you get no compensation, but it would save you about $2.2 million on the cap, which for a guy that, okay, maybe he's tackle 3 at tackle of 4. Tylen Grable is still here. You can draft somebody. You should have competition. But I don't think this is a luxury the Bills can kind of afford at this point, right? Let Grable be your leading candidate for swing tackle, and maybe you're just bringing in guys at this point. Or, maybe the Bills really, really like this guy, and they're going to say, nope, you know what, that's worth the investment, and they'll take the $700,000 hit. Where some may just say, oh, this is dirty pool by the Vikings. I think it's actually good business, right? Like, somehow we got to a point where, oh, this is a gentleman's agreement. You don't do this. This is why it's kind of not as common as it should be when it comes to restricted free agents. Like, you're getting somebody at good value on a 1-year deal. Now you have to go match it. Last time this happened for Buffalo, anybody remember? I do. It was Ryan Bates. The Bears were a mess. And it was actually one of Ryan Poles' first moves. Let me go in and poach an offensive lineman. Now, it turns out Bates probably played his best ball in Buffalo because eventually, ironically, he goes to the Bears later. But it was a 4-year, $17 million offer sheet with Chicago that Buffalo ended up matching. But difference was he was seeing some serious playing time in Buffalo at guard at that time and was kind of the backup center. In a perfect world, Vandermark doesn't see the field for Buffalo, so I think that's also kind of a concern. 866-4326. So again, I wouldn't expect any news on that. The Bills just all of a sudden they don't need to do the Vikings any favors. Like, so today is Wednesday, and the 5 days. I don't know if that's business days or actual days, but I would expect this will carry over until next week. That's going to be my read on it. By the way, tomorrow, how fantastic is it going to be tomorrow with the tournament going on right now in Buffalo? We will be talking to PJ Glasser next hour, about 2:25-ish, to get his thoughts here on the bracket. And sure, there's some 6-11, 5-12s. Like, those are sort of the games. We can all pick the chalk. We can all determine. But to really win your pool, that's where you got to roll up your sleeves and feel good about some stuff. We also have a game tonight, Miami of Ohio playing SMU. Okay, that's fun. That is going to draw some eyeballs, knowing that, okay, Miami of Ohio, they barely get in. Undefeated regular season, lose in the conference tournament, and somehow they were very close to being out. SMU they're a weird team. They've lost 5 of 6. Their only win in the 5 of 6 against Syracuse. That's tonight. One other thought here, back to the Sabres, too. Sabres tomorrow night will be in San Jose. One thing from last night, and you go look this up, former Sabre Braden McNabb, he clearly lines up Zach Benson. Benson's in the slot. He's firing a shot. The puck is gone. And then Benson gets leveled. So the hit is late. There is no call. I'm not saying that is a major. You may be able to, but to me, that's the definition of interference. Puck is gone. No hit. But the NHL, no, not it. And the Vegas coach Cassidy, well, that's a bigger guy against a smaller guy. That's all I saw there. Okay, you're defending your guy. I get it. But when we say which league has the worst officiating, I think the NFL is just too litigious. Meaning, I don't need the replays and all the angles and why are we reviewing this, and you're really calling a flag on that. The NHL is the opposite direction. Like, you're kidding me, right? What are you looking at? That is clearly a penalty. I just, and it's not a news story, and it doesn't seem like there's any urgency to fix these sort of things. But everything from the minor, in my opinion, that wasn't called, you could say a major, to the Gudis hit that hey, didn't warrant anything more than a 5-game suspension. Top to bottom, everything needs to be looked at, in my opinion, in the NHL. Randy Mearns, interim head coach for the Rochester Nighthawks. We'll get his thoughts as the team is home coming up Saturday night against Vegas. Our phone number, 866-4326. Gene Battaglia here on WGR Rochester.
employer.
WGR Rochester Sports Update.
Sabres win after dark, if you didn't stay up for it. 2-0 the win over Vegas. Head coach Lindy Ruff crediting Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen.
I thought our goaltender did a heck of a night keeping them at bay. Both goaltenders, I thought were good. Made big saves at big times, but really liked the way we played in the third. I think we only gave up the one real big opportunity. The guy got away from us in front of the net, but overall, that's a hard win against a good team.
Sabres at San Jose coming up tomorrow. The Amerks are back home Friday against Syracuse. The Nighthawks home Saturday. And as we'll talk to interim head coach Randy Mearns next year in the Sports Bar. First four tonight, college basketball. The last pairings here, Lehigh and A&M Prairie View. SMU taking on Miami of Ohio. Sports is brought to you by GetMyPerks.com. Save half off today to Lasertron in Henrietta. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, WGR Rochester.
Rochester's home for live sports and the best sports talk anywhere. The Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia, 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR, Rochester.
Yeah, the Nighthawks, if you just look at this big picture, right, that we're happy to have this team first and foremost after the Pegulas put it up for sale, didn't know. Secondly, happy to have a season, I suppose. But nobody saw the season kind of going this way. But to have an original Rochester Nighthawk coming back to help out, and somebody who certainly has roots at every level in the sport of lacrosse, Randy Mearns joining us here in the Sports Bar this afternoon. Randy, congratulations. It's great to have you back in the Flower City. How are you today?
I appreciate you, Gene. Yeah, I'm doing great. It's been a whirlwind. It's been an incredible 10 days, 11 days as I've started this journey. I kind of felt, as the season has gone along, it's kind of like jumping on this moving boat. Spent a lot of time, over the last week, kind of developing relationships. Some guys that I don't know, and I've had the opportunity to call games as a broadcaster, so you see it. And, now we had that first experience down in Vegas. It wasn't clean. It wasn't effective. It was a culmination of a little error here and a little error there. And, it wasn't because of heart. It wasn't because of dedication. It wasn't because of work ethic or getting to the dirty areas. But, there's some things that we got to clean up. And now we get this whole week to prepare for a team that we just played. And so it's an exciting week, as we kind of build out our game plan and we're looking to, right the ship, so to speak.
Yeah, Randy, let me, I'm not going to start with the softball. I'm going to get you the hard one here. Ready? Because we have high expectations here, right? And something is off. Something's off here. 5-7, not where anybody wants to be. Led to this change here. So, from where you sit, what kind of needs to change here? What is your assessment walking into this position, Randy? Yeah,
I think it's. I feel when Danny Carey had reached out and was looking to make the change. I feel maybe a different voice. And I love Mike Hazen, and I got to tell you, first and foremost, he had reached out to me, on that following Tuesday after the Monday, and he is just so first class. Obviously wished me luck and was excited for my opportunity. Basically he said, hey, like in this room, like there's this special group that maybe aren't playing to, their potential. And so, like I say, it's kind of coming in. Obviously had a great start to the season, 4-1. Then all of a sudden the tides kind of turned a little bit. Played the back-to-back to Vancouver. Obviously we had the Hartley hit and then getting back out to Vancouver and, kind of going through it. So it's been like this topsy-turvy thing, and so for myself, it's really been coming into really understand the systems, what's everybody been doing. I've had great conversations, with the entire team, the staff, Kyle Calais and Matty Delilla, of what's been kind of going on, getting a feel for it. Right. And And I got to tell you, remarkable players in this locker room. And Mike Hazen's right. Like, this is a special group. I mean, you look offensively, God, like just the amount of talent that is there, and the skill level. Defensive wise, veteran guys, athletic. Goaltending's been kind of up and down, so that's trying to breathe some confidence in on that. And I'm trying to figure that out. But I feel going through this first experience for me personally, it's been a whirlwind. But I do have my feet on the ground. I dove in head first into the water, and during last week it was kind of like I'm doggy paddling and kind of getting up to speed. And I feel at times when you go through stuff that is really, really hard. That could be a key of binding a team together, right? Because you just live through it. And like I said to a few of the guys, today and talking with them, and I got a variety of conversations happening, all through the afternoon. On Tuesday, what, the sun came up. Wasn't the result that we wanted, but we do need to righten the ship. We get them back to back, so now we have that experience of playing their players in Vegas and kind of understanding some of their designs and their transition game. And so now, our job is to prepare our guys to the best of our ability to execute on Saturday. Every game's a playoff game. There's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of belief, and I want to continue to nurture that and push that forward. And if we just, can continue to execute the game plan, play, where you're not thinking, play where you're not kind of feeling you're on eggshells, continue to build confidence. I feel we can make this playoff run. And so, we're just, as a staff, due diligent. Our players do diligent all week. And that's, we're excited to get Vegas back in Roch, on Saturday.
Yeah, Randy Mearns, who was a player on the original, not to make you feel old, I was there too, Randy, doing the sideline reporting in '95, so I'm right there with you. But you're there, and for our audience, you're not new to coaching. You've been doing this, granted, a little different there at the outdoor game, different level. College, close to 3 decades, Canisius, then Bonaventure. Tell me, bring me back to like the 90s. At what point did you know, hey, you know what, this coaching thing, this is something I really want to kind of dive into? Yeah,
it's, my parents were always, kind of growing up where lacrosse back in Canada, St. Catharines, and, you look where lacrosse is right now, right? And then to where it was way back, quite honestly, for me in the 70s and the 80s, I'm dating myself, right? My parents, as I continue to grow as a player, you get to you're playing, U12, U13, they would say, my mom and my dad were like, no, like, you got to go give back to the house league. Like, you got to go coach, the little tykes, the little guys. And so, you do it. And the best part about it is, like, you always had a lacrosse stick in your hand and you got to get to the arena, and because you got your stick in your hand, you're always, you're always filling with it. You're always shooting. Plus, when you're trying to teach a young kid, hey, how to pick up the ball, like, it makes you kind of think, because you want to try to teach them the right way, right? And so that was like an evolution where the older that I got, the older the kids got, and then obviously had an opportunity to go to Canisius in 89 through 92, to come down to the States, play field lacrosse. And then from there, field lacrosse really wasn't that big in Ontario or in Canada. Like, it was there, but it really wasn't, that big. And that's where the opportunities could be from a lacrosse standpoint at that time, because as you get to high school, like, hey, can you get down to the States? Can you maybe get a scholarship, get some education paid for, right? And so along with a lot of other people, we started the St. Catharines minor field lacrosse route. And so you're just always kind of coaching. And, and then, sometimes you never know what kind of happens in life. I had the opportunity to go back to Canisius as a grad assistant, and Mike Greco, who was the head coach at the time, the following summer, decided that he was going to go on a different journey. And the athletic director, a man named Dr. Starr, asked me if I wanted to be the part-time head coach at Canisius, and I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Why wouldn't I want to do that? Give back to my alma mater, and that's just kind of how the journey started to kind of build a 26, 27-year career, and it's been so rewarding. The relationships that you build, the players that you get to interact with. And college was absolutely awesome because, they're 18 to 22-year-olds. They got dreams. Maybe they're trying to play in the NLL. Maybe they're trying to play in the PLL. Maybe they're trying to play for national programs as this great game of lacrosse has continued to grow, right? And it's been so rewarding. And then as, the journey kind of continued, I was a little humbled, a little shocked. A lot excited when Dan Carey, gave me a call, this past Monday, 11 days ago or 9 days ago now, and said, hey, would you want to take on this journey? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Why wouldn't you want to be in the National Lacrosse League? It's the best lacrosse, on the planet, right? So it's been a whirlwind, but we're, my feet are on the ground, and we're moving it forward.
Yeah, Randy Mearns, interim head coach for the Rochester Nighthawks. Our guest here is the Nighthawks Saturday night, Blue Cross Arena, taking on Vegas. You brought up Dan Carey, now who is in this team president. You've known him, you coached him. And what I say about lacrosse, it's true of like most sports, but I think lacrosse, like you guys are glue. Like the community is so tight. Like you guys look after one another. And do you remember the first time you met Dan Carey? Because it doesn't go back just to this year. It goes back not years, decades here, Randy.
Oh, God, yeah. Dan Carey was – I had seen him. I had seen him play lacrosse, box, when he was kind of at that high school age. Because you're out, you're looking at tournaments, you're kind of recruiting. Plus, I love box cross, so you go and you kind of watch, and that kid's pretty good, and that guy's really good, and the whole bit. And then I got a call from the Herkimer coach because Dan had gone to Herkimer and said, hey, I got this young Canadian. He's looking to transfer. He's got his associate's degree, and would you be interested? And that was the first opportunity. I got on the horn with Dan and said, hey, hey, we got this thing going on at Canisius. Love for you to join. We kind of went through it. What are you looking to take? What's the dream? What are you trying to do? And it was a perfect fit. And that's the kind of like that first time of meeting Dan. And and then the best part, and then you get to kind of build a relationship. We got to kind of work together, right, as a student athlete and as a coach. And then that relationship just continued to grow. Like in this lacrosse, you said it yourself, it's kind of like glue. He got the opportunity, got drafted in the first round. He got into the NLL, got into the loop, had his career, got into coaching and then managing, and kind of evolved, and then had the opportunity, obviously, to get to Rochester, and help build and navigate, the program. And I feel like he's done a tremendous job. And so maybe those relationships, carry weight. I had the opportunity to work with him, from a Lacrosse Canada national team program, where he's currently the GM of Lacrosse Canada for field lacrosse. And so, as the journeys all go, maybe you don't chat for 3 months or 4 months because we're all busy. We all got things doing, trying to build lacrosse, And then when he had, when he connected, he had reached out, because of the new ownership and the time commitment. He couldn't go to Jeju, and he asked me if, hey, would I step in for him and be the GM for the U20 Canadian team going over for the World Field Lacrosse Championships, and I feel like that was because of relationships, and so what an amazing opportunity that he provided me. And so you never lose touch. It's like anything. Like you cannot talk to a lacrosse guy for 9 months, a year, and then all of a sudden the paths cross, and it's just like yesterday. And it's you're exactly right. Like it's just this the sorority and fraternity of of individuals, collectively trying to continuing to grow this game and provide opportunity and to build, lacrosse, internationally throughout the world. The NLL and NCAA, like it's such an amazing time for lacrosse. And now with it going to the Olympics in 2028, I still feel like lacrosse is at its infancy and it's going to explode.
Yeah, Randy Mearns, our guest here. Nighthawks are home Saturday night. And Randy, if this is the NFL, the interim head coach rarely ends up sticking with the team, right? But this isn't the NFL, right? So did you take this job knowing, hey, let me do this for a little bit and help this team, get on the right path, and they'll hand the baton off? Or ultimately, would you like to kind of be that guy to help lead this team, not just for the rest of this season, but years into the future?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's like I feel for myself, it's the highest level of box lacrosse or indoor lacrosse, however we want to refer to it, right? Like it's the highest level. I mean, being a broadcaster for the last 23 years while I was coaching in the NCAA, I see it from afar. I see it up in the press box, and you get to call games and try to provide color commentary, and like the level of play of the players, the amount of prep by the coaches, it, and then going through it for the first time, at in Las Vegas, you really kind of dial in and go, wow, like this is like so fast, right? Like this is the level, and so for me, it didn't really matter to me in terms of the, hey, interim tag or not. It was an opportunity for me to, help try to, guide Rochester to the playoffs and try to get to an NLL championship. And how my mindset said is, okay, here's my process. I got to get to know the players because there were some that I didn't know. We're going to go through these rough waters because it's a change. And now it's going to be navigated by a new, by a new captain, so to speak. We're going to go through a first-time experience. However that's going to, lead out, we're going to try to do the best that we can. And then now we've had that. So now how do we build from it? And my responsibility is, to continue to game plan, to provide, positive feedback, to inspire, to develop game plans with our coaching staff, and work with our players to, hey, let's execute the game plans that will allow us to win. And from there, it'll work itself out in the wash. Would I be honored if, down the road, Danny reaches out and says, hey, you know what? Hey, we want to make this a little bit more long-term. What an incredible opportunity. If it doesn't go well and, hey, you know what? We got to make a different change, because now we're at that point, what? I'll know that I gave it my best effort for, the remainder of this season. And, let the relationships, let the success, kind of dictate itself. It's not really part of my thought process. My thought process is I got a phone call with Matt Gilray at 2:00. Let's have a conversation. Right. So yeah. It's doing all these little things, and, what comes comes, and, like life, you go through the ups and the downs, and you never ever know, if it's good things or bad things until you put some time behind it, right? So I'm just super honored. I'm super humbled. It's great to be back in back in Roch and to lead this group. It is like I say, it's an honor, and I'm going to give my best efforts to try to guide and let's get some W's.
Yeah, one last one for you, Randy, because there's a newcomer on your team that I think our audience in the lacrosse community would be curious to learn your thoughts on. I remember Blaze Reardon as a goaltender for Fairport. Like, wait a second, now he's this guy who's scoring 2 goals for you. The Nighthawks just picking him up in a trade recently, and all these guys are kind of new to you, but certainly Blaze new to everybody here. What does a guy like that bring to your team here, Randy?
Yeah, it's it's a great observation. I mean, Blaze is a guy that's like full of energy. He's a guy that'll get to the heart of the defense. He'll muck it. He'll grind it. You know, he's a guy that will work for his teammates, and he has the capability of putting the ball in the net. Like, he's very, very talented. And being back at home for him, we were having a conversation, as I, kind of built a relationship with him over the last little bit. Now, we've always kind of known each other, but now we're kind of together, and he's kind of coming in hot too, and he's part of the solution. He's super pumped to be back at home. His journey has taken him a variety of different places. Following the lacrosse dream. As you said, hey, in Albany, he was, an incredible goaltender, playing for national teams, the PLL. And then all of a sudden, playing in the indoor game, I mean, he's an offensive weapon. Like, he's a scorer, he's a distributor. He'll do all the different things that you need to do to spring other guys open. He's the ultimate team guy. He adds to some team toughness, and we're excited to have him in Rochester. And I actually, this is before this, but like about 2 or 3, I don't know, maybe months ago, at the beginning of the season, like in my mind, as this thing builds towards the Olympics and the Sixes kind of program, and it's a limited roster. Like, he's, and it's the Sixes where it's a field net, but it's kind of more like box lacrosse on a 70 by 30. I'm like, he might be a perfect fit for Team USA because he can play in net and he can play out, right? And so he's just so talented, and we're so super excited to have him, in Rochester, and he's already got a lot of really solid relationships with guys on the team, and we're going to continue to build on that. We're going to stoke that, we're excited to have him here.
Randy, look, best of luck coming up Saturday night, really to see how this team kind of comes together under your leadership. Thanks for the time today, and let's do this again soon.
Awesome. Appreciate you, Gene. Thank you, man.
Thanks, Randy. Randy Mearns, interim head coach. But you get the sense that he's got a lot of passion for this sport and for the city. So hopefully things go well for the Nighthawks. They are not where anybody expected him to. Like, where you have the reigning MVP and you have some other parts here. 5-7, especially when you got off to like a 2-0 start. But I think the goaltender suspension didn't help, right? And that you lose him for a couple games, and then there's been some games. I think the loss against Calgary, that was a tipping point. Something had to change, and good for Dan Carey to kind of recognize that. And maybe the new ownership is paying attention. But talking to people behind the scenes here, it just seems like, okay, the new ownership stands. All right, like, okay, we don't have these expectations that that are going to be crazy here year one, but can we build something here in this new iteration of Nighthawk lacrosse under the Seneca Nation? We will have our guy. I say this always, worried what direction you're going to take this. Tim Schneider will have his terrible take of today. He's wearing his Sabre cap. We'll have time for your calls as well at 866-4326. That is the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line. Award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, 135 West Commercial Street, East Rochester. GoodSmokeBBQ.com.
Bar with Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR, Rochester.
Some Miami Dolphins are telling teams apparently, no, we're not going to trade Devin Achane. Okay. Why not? Like, at this point, just get rid of everybody. Let's see how that goes in Miami. And yeah, it's I can't wait to see that. Who will they serve the Dolphins up to week 1? Like, if it ends up being Miami at New England week 1, you're like, oh, really? Really? I've got some predictions about the NFL schedule. One being for the Chiefs. They want to make sure the Chiefs get off on the right foot. They want to rope you in, make sure that the goodbye season we think for Travis Kelce and his fiance is all happy. I don't know. They were husband and wife by that point. I don't even know. Mahomes, like they're going to give them the Raiders, going to give them some crap team week 1. And my fear is, like, for the Dolphins, they'll end up in New England. And they'll get Buffalo. Buffalo, to me, with the new stadium, they did this last year on Sunday Night Football, and it paid off. When you look back, that's really one of the games of the year in the NFL. 41-40, last-second comeback, Josh Allen making plays, Derrick Henry running all over the place. Yeah, it's everything you would want. Well, why wouldn't you want to do something like that again? Bold prediction, Buffalo Bills opening Sunday Night Football. Again, if you're only half listening, that's just speculation on my part. Always speculating, always coming up with sometimes great, sometimes weird, sometimes not good takes. We blindly throw it over to Tim Schneider.
Oh,
Tim,
I love it.
Yeah, good
the
afternoon, Tim.
NFL tinfoil hat Gino is my favorite. Did you essentially just announce, again, this is speculation on my behalf before I even get to where I'm going. Did you just announce your survivor pick is whoever the Dolphins are playing week 1? That's what it felt like.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
That's
write,
official.
Write it down. We can skip that part in September.
Yeah,
Miami Dolphins opponent week 1 is Gino's survivor pick of the week as something that will remain.
I mean, I can't imagine, like, hey, week 1, Dolphins and Jets. We'd all be chuckling. Now, their fan base would be like, well, that's the one game we could win. So, to me, though, they'll serve up the Dolphins as the sacrificial lamb. Tim, what do you got for us?
Where I'm going here is one final WBC take, as it's something I came across yesterday. We kind of harped and made fun of how Italy was basically just Team New Jersey for this tournament. A team that did not qualify because their nation does not allow what Italy allowed, Ireland. I say, and Ireland does not, I say let them go how Italy did it. Build the game. If it allows somebody, seeing somebody, maybe they're not from their nation, let them in. It will grow the game for people in Ireland. It makes it better for baseball. It makes it better for children to grow into the game. If they see somebody wearing Ireland, they don't have to know that they're not from there. Let them in, grow the game, build the sport, and allow, perhaps it's mostly Americans, allow them in. Make this a better game for everybody involved, despite them not being from that country.
Well, it's not a 1-year, 2-year, 10-year fix. Like, the analogy, like, I think it would be like, could we all of a sudden fall in love with cricket here in the United States and North America? And granted, I actually have a friend who loves cricket, but it's not for me and it's not for the majority of people. So over there, yeah, it's I don't think, like, that doesn't come off as authentic. That's why I was throwing the BS flag on Team Italy. Those guys are not from Italy. 3 of them were. Okay, woo. All the other guys, wow, that noted Italian, Aaron Nola, now with the Philadelphia Phillies. Man, when he'll take you. Have you ever seen the special where he goes over to Sicily and he's sitting down with Stanley Tucci? Did you ever see that? No, of course you didn't, because it never happened.
But it doesn't matter. It's about growing the game. And I think that...
Let me give you a different take on this. Okay. So my take on this is what I really enjoyed was the atmosphere.
Yeah.
It's like, that is off the charts. Wait a second. But then now when we get to first week, it's welcome to Miami Marlin baseball. They need to repackage that whole team. Like, ditch the Marlins. like make it primarily all Latino. Rename the team. How would you translate Marlins? Like, honestly, have the PA announcer like, what would it take? Whether that's to make it a team basically talking to the Dominican audience or talking to, like, that's what needs to happen in that community to get everybody to come out and support it. Nobody cares about Miami Marlin baseball, but they love the sport, as evident, and that should always be kind of the home if you're going to keep it in this format.
Did you watch the Dominican World Series? Do you see how that fandom is there? Like, when the World Series here is over, a lot of these guys go to the Dominican and they play winter ball. How their reactions are, how the fans behave, how the players behave.
Yes.
Sign me up for that here.
Yeah.
And people would freak out. Old man baseball writer would not like it, but we would.
It also is special because it's in limited doses, and I'm going to be curious to see how, because we don't get another World Baseball Classic until 3 years from now. Before that is the Olympics in 2028. And my gosh, I hope they do this right. All right, I said one final take. Ron Manfred should not be on the field handing out silver medals. I appreciate Kyle Schwarber just taking it off right away. Like, come on, get out. That's a topic for a slow day. Which commissioner do you hate the most at 866?
All of them.
All of them. We will talk to PJ Glasser. Of course, March means brackets. He's our expert. He'll be coming up next hour. We have time for your calls at 866-4326. You're on WGR Rochester.
Rochester.
Yeah, spring is right around the corner, trust me. We bet you're excited for warmer weather. But as temperatures rise, make sure your energy bills don't. Keeping those cooling costs low with Window Nation's high-quality, energy-efficient products. Simply request a consultation where their experts will visit your home, spot problem areas, and make recommendations. Your customized windows can be installed in a day. Once completed, your home will be shielded from outside hot air while you remain cool and comfortable throughout the spring and summer. With Window Nation, your house just won't look great. You'll also have peace of mind. All Window Nation's products are backed by a lifetime warranty. There's no better time to upgrade your home with Window Nation. In March, the more you buy, the more savings you could enjoy. Up to 50% off all window styles. And be sure to ask about Window Nation's generous financing options, including $0 down and payments as little as $199 a month. Visit windownation.com for your free consultation today. That's windownation.com.
Attention, low payment club members and anyone
sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. WGR Rochester. Sports update.
Well, look at this. After being last in the conference on December 9th, the Sabres now tied atop the Eastern Conference. This after the win last night. 2-0 the final in Vegas. Buffalo in San Jose tomorrow. Not much Bills-related news today, although Geno Stone speaking, the former Bengal safety, on what he brings to his new team.
They're going to get a guy that's going to compete every day. Guys going to be in the right spots at the right time, and, a leader. Now I'm 7 years in the league, and I feel like I've been around a lot to know what it takes to be a pro in this league and what it takes to win. But I know what it kind of takes to get to the next step, and, my goal is to get back to the AFC Championship, win that, and get to the Super Bowl.
First four tonight, continuing Lehigh A&M Prairie View, followed by SMU Miami of Ohio. PJ Glasser will talk some brackets coming up later this hour. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, WGR Rochester.
Pull up a chair, stay for a while. You're in the sports bar on WGR. Grab a drink, hang your coat, get sports talk. Live from Western New York. It's a master show. 9 times better than your typical host. 9 times. Gene and Tim have takes much harder than most. No one cares when you're out. Sabres! Bills! Americans! Red Wings and Nighthawks! Sports Bar! For Rochester Sports Talk.
Yeah, as we high step here into hour number 2. Again, thanks to Dan in Fairport for sending that in. As we welcome you back in here, Gene Battaglia with you. Tim Schneider, our fine producer. PJ Glasser will be joining us later this hour, talking some bracketology. And you're always welcome to join us at 866-4326. We are not the show that is going to put down any sport or anything. Like, even you admitted that you would like cricket at some point. Okay, not for me, but if it's for you, that's fantastic. It's just people that dump on the WNBA, I think, are lazy. Like, if it's not for you, that's fine. Just don't dump on it. Like, I just, if you're going to be somebody that dumps on something, like, I can't believe that they're doing this downtown with the Jazz. Like, I don't have any time for you. People are into it. Let them be. I'm passing this along. It sounds like we're going to have a WNBA season, which is great. A CBA, everything is positive. They needed to figure this out, basically, because they had a draft coming up on April 13th. It's kind of weird, right? Like, as soon as the season's over, and part of the issue for women's basketball, I think, is it just gets overshadowed by the men's game, that if you can figure out a way how to kind of make the seasons just a little bit different, both in college hockey and in college basketball, I think that would benefit not just having these sports basically kind of concurrent. Now, it'll fill a void here coming up early next week, and we get done with the men's bracket on Sunday. All right, well, we're watching some of the women's action. So good luck to Syracuse and all the women, and hey, good that we will have a WNBA season, it sounds like, after all. Our number, 866-4326. Where exactly is Dayton, Ohio? Like, I'm pretty good with geography. This is the fun part. Unless, did you read my notes here?
I did not read the notes, but I have been there, so it's kind of cheating. It's like 6 hours from here, but it's also in the middle of nowhere.
Where is the this is the way I would ask.
Basically Kentucky.
What is the closest city?
Major
city.
I'm going to say Louisville because I said Kentucky.
No. Cincinnati.
It's the same thing.
It's not.
Cincinnati is Louisville.
No,
Cincinnati's Kentucky.
All right, this is Tim showing the Bonaventure education. Dayton, Ohio is a 50-minute drive from Cincinnati. That's it. Be like going from here to Transit Road or here to Geneva, right? Like, it's not that far. Bringing this up because, and I get a chuckle out of this, and it's a relatable story, right? There were some fans ejected last night in the first 4 game between Texas and NC State. Like, wait a second.
I did see that.
Why? Why would you have people ejected? These were Xavier fans taking time out of their day to heckle their former head coach, Sean Miller. Now, Sean Miller now of Texas. Now, sidebar, I don't think highly of Sean Miller. And I don't think I'm alone in that regard. Like, yeah, you go back and look at what happened in Arizona. Like, wait a second, this guy is still coaching, and he's coaching at a blue chip program like Texas? This is wrong. What? Well, if I'm a Xavier fan, sure, he probably did some things, and I didn't really kind of dive into that. But I would think every fan base, whether that's professional or collegiate, you always got that guy like, wait a second, you left and you didn't leave on good terms. You did us wrong. Like, the easy one in baseball right now is like Craig Counsell of the Cubs. Wait a second, you're from Wisconsin. We had named a park after you, and you left for that team? I mean, I guess Jeff fans can feel that way about Belichick. I'm going to go way off the board. And again, things when I got to Fordham in the 90s, like, I learned pretty quick that school hated Digger Phelps. Oh, the great Digger Phelps, Notre Dame. This is how you coach. No, he totally did the school wrong. And it was years later, like, okay, we're the fan base that, like, can't stand that guy. He's a hypocrite. So I totally respect that Xavier fans last night, hey, their team's not in it, but you know what? We're going to let Sean Miller know how we feel about this. First for tonight, Prairie View A&M against Lehigh, which they were always the Engineers. Now they're the Prairie Wolves or something. I don't know. They got a different name now. They were the brown and white like decades ago. Followed by, drum roll please, Miami of Ohio against SMU. I can't wait to get PJ's thoughts on this one because we'll talk big picture sort of stuff. But does the winner of this game give Tennessee any run? Like, I would love, wouldn't we love to see Miami of Ohio really kind of make a run here? And to me, Miami of Ohio represents something kind of bigger. And that is, I hope I'm wrong on this, the end of the era of the Cinderella. Like, it wasn't that long ago we had St. Peter's. Like, where is St. Peter's? They're in New Jersey. And, like, oh, wow, they've got – and then, okay, the team got picked apart because kids went into the portal, which understandable, and that school got a big paycheck. It could happen, I suppose, but – the way the money that's going in and the way it's being distributed, even for a school coming out of the MAC shouldn't be like major Cinderella, but this is where we're at. And Miami of Ohio, 31-0, barely makes it in. Barely. And it would have been an injustice had they not gotten in. In particular, like SMU. Like, what's SMU? SMU finished up the season losing 5 of their last 6. They lost to Syracuse on Valentine's Day. Now, 5 of the last 6, SMU actually ended up blowing out Syracuse in the ACC tournament. That's their only win in their last 6 games. Despite all that, the Mustangs are 6.5-point favorites tonight. So that's always the Vegas doesn't do these things to lose money. Like, if anything, I thought maybe SMU a small favorite. That's a lot. And again, the winner to face Tennessee. So we'll get the thoughts of PJ Glasser. Coming up here in just a little bit. Our phone number is 866-4326 here on the, do we still say all new WGR Rochester? I don't know, but tell a friend. And if you're like, wow, I miss you guys in the afternoon. Hey, we're here 1 to 3. You download the Odyssey app and you listen back to it. Once you get used to that style of listening, it's hard to kind of go back. Now, tomorrow's going to be a first on the show because we line up guests and, sometimes things kind of have to cancel, right? Maybe say just in theory, like we'll invite Mike Catalana for 13 Wham, but maybe there's a big story that kind of breaks. Well, his day job, he kind of gets pulled away. We will reschedule it. I've never had to give a conditional reschedule based on this. And I would give Tim Schneider, I'll give you one guess here.
I know who the guest is.
Oh, okay, then
So I don't want to cheat.
You don't want to cheat. Okay. So coming on tomorrow, and not only is she a personal friend, but she is one of the best Division III head coaches in the women's game. And maybe someday she will go up, but I think RIT is really lucky to have Melissa Kuberka. She's like a hoops junkie. And I knew she was expecting. I didn't know her due date was March 27th. So that's the condition of the show tomorrow. We've never had anybody in studio that close to their due date. So, but she's like, how many people be like, you know what? I can't do it, or let's do it by phone. She's coming into the studio tomorrow to talk about the brackets and everything else, and that's going to be a blast here. Unless Baby decides, hey, today it'd be a perfect day for me to come on out. So Melissa Kuberka, if you're an RIT fan, she will be joining us on the show tomorrow, as will Ian Mills for the first time from News 10 NBC. As we'll get caught up. Even though the tournament's going on, we'll make sure that we're always giving you. That is my promise to you. Always, always, always. What's happening with the Buffalo Bills? And what's happening today is I think the Vikings made a smart business decision. Like, okay, we can't go out and get a tackle to compete at this number, but there's a team in Buffalo that's really pressed up against it. You know how much room the Bills have on the salary cap? I'll tell you. It's $9.7 million, which, hey,
9 times.
That's great. You can go and buy, like, 2 linebackers and a corner and another wide receiver. The answer is no. You need some of that space to sign your draft picks, number one. But it's only for the top 51. So that's going to be the, Yes, it would cost you $700,000 more in cash and against the cap. So that would go down to an even $9 million, coincidentally. Or
9 times.
Or do you actually say, you know what? $4.2 million is a little rich for a guy that in a perfect world isn't, would not be seeing the field. Now, will you have backups that are making money? Yes. But I call those kind of mistakes. I know it's cruel to call Josh Palmer a mistake, but honestly, like, you didn't sign him with that intention for him to be wide receiver 5. You were thinking, hey, that's somebody that could be wide receiver 3. The Bills have made some mistakes when it comes out to handing out money. Ryan Vandermark is not going to be a starter on the Buffalo Bills anytime soon. I don't think Deion Dawkins will get to the end of this year and be like, boy, the Bills have to move off of that. And certainly Spencer Brown, the Bills just kind of committed to, too. So really, this is just insurance, and $4.2 million at that position, that's a little rich for my blood. Especially when you got a guy named Grable who can kind of do that, and you can go in and get other guys in the draft or find another street agent. Like, I would save that little itty-bitty part of cap space and draft somebody that's maybe a little valuable. And again, that's why I keep coming back to this, is that you need a corner, probably 2, linebacker, probably 2. Good idea to draft another edge rusher. That's 5. You need to draft a wide receiver. That's 6. Probably not 1, but 2 offensive linemen. 7, 8. Do the Bills have 8 draft picks? The answer is no. In fact, they don't have a second-round pick. So as much as I would love to see the Bills at 26, take Casey Concepcion 25, that's not happening. It could happen, but I would think trading down and making sure that you're just getting more competition at every position would be the prudent thing to do. I don't think like trading up for the one guy that's going to put us over the top. Hard for me to see that, but the reason the Buffalo Bills exited stage right in the postseason last year, you could say, well, they were on the road. If that game was in Buffalo, they win. That's fair. But I do think that you can't ignore the lack of depth on that team. How they didn't really have a safety to fill in right away. And Bo Nix saw that. Sean Payton saw that, throw in that direction. Bam, touchdown. Like, Brandon Cook should not have been one of the primary options on your team as a receiver. Again, you didn't count on injuries there to your guys, Gabe Davis, nor Tyrell Shavers. But then again, Gabe Davis was a guy on the practice squad. So That's how thin the Bills were. More depth, more competition. We will talk to PJ Glasser, betting expert. He joins us next. My name is Gene Battaglia here on WGR Rochester.
Salinas.com.
WGR Rochester Sports Update.
The Red Hot Sabres win again, 2-0. The win in Vegas last night. Head coach Lindy Ruff crediting UPL.
I thought our goaltender did a heck of a night keeping them at bay. Both goaltenders, I thought were good. Made big saves at big times, but I really liked the way we played in the third. I think we only gave up the one real big opportunity. The guy got away from us in front of the net, but overall, that's a hard win against a good team.
Sabres at San Jose tomorrow. Our coverage tomorrow will begin at 9 o'clock. Sabres are on this road trip because, well, the home of the Sabres being used for the NCAA tournament. Round 1 begins tomorrow. Tonight, first 4, action in Dayton, Lehigh against A&M Prairie View. Also SMU, Miami of Ohio. We'll get the thoughts of PJ Glasser coming up next. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, WGR Rochester.
Straight up with no chaser. You're in the Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR, Rochester.
Always love our conversations here with the great PJ Glasser. And PJ, your time to shine here, buddy. But very rarely in the years we've been doing this do we ever kind of get first 4 matchups. Your thoughts on tonight here? Miami of Ohio, the school we're paying attention, they do get in sort of a way. Are you surprised at all that SMU here, though, a team that's lost, 5 of 6, they're actually favored by 6.5? PJ, how are you this afternoon?
Oh, Gene, I'm so good, my friend. We are less than 24 hours away from the greatest day on the sports calendar. Should be an awesome next 4 days. But, yeah, I mean, we had 2 great games last night. Hopefully the games tonight are good. The Miami-Ohio SMU game is certainly a fascinating one. I think the line's about fair, Gene. This actually got up to as high as SMU was a 9-point favorite at some spots. I think so many people were just like they were going to fade Miami-Ohio regardless once the bracket came out if they were going to be in, because I always felt like they should have been in. The kind of counterpoint was that they didn't play anybody. Their strength of schedule was so weak. So I think that's why the spread is what it is. Even though they're 31-1 on the season, their schedule is amongst the worst teams in the field. But they're going to get a chance today to prove everybody wrong, and they're going to have essentially a home game playing an hour away from campus in Dayton. So it should be a lot of fun. I did take Miami plus the points. I think they can win, but I think it's a fair line having SMU by 6.5.
So I want to go through your thoughts on each region here, but before that, when we talked last week, you're like, hey, keep an eye on Texas, and Texas does get in. They're going to be facing BYU. How far do you have the Longhorns going in this tournament, PJ?
I think they can definitely upset BYU. That is going to be a true coin toss game. BYU right now looks like 2.5-point favorite. I think the winner of that game, though, Gene, is going to lose to Gonzaga. I think the Zags will be too much. I think BYU probably has a better shot of upsetting Gonzaga than Texas does. But I think if you're a Texas fan, what makes you feel good is you're a really good offensive team. You shot less than 40% last night, and you still found a way to win the game. I've always liked their trio of the point guard Pope, Tremont Market with the shot last night, and then the big man Volkatitis, who a lot of people got to see for the first time. So those 3 are going to be tough to deal with. It should be a good game. But, Gene, a lot of times, we have a bunch of these types of matchups in the bracket when it's a one-possession point spread. If I get a Big 12 team versus any of these other conferences, I'm usually going to lean towards the Big 12. I think that's the best conference in the country. And if you get any of those teams, 1.5, 2.5 against any other the other schools, that's probably the way that I would go.
Yeah, while we're here, let's just kind of start off in the West. And I think, all right, we're not going to be going crazy here. We'll have Arizona probably gliding through to the Sweet 16. You've got some other close matchups here, though. Miami, Missouri. Do you have a feel on that? We just talked about BYU, Texas. And is this a bracket region that has potential upset? Wisconsin, High Point. What do we know about High Point here, PJ? Could it be that, or here's Arkansas? They come in and face Hawaii, and 20% of the time you'll have a 13 over a 4. So your thoughts on this region overall, the West region, PJ?
think it's a super interesting region, Gene. I really like the 1, the 2, and the 3 seed in this region with Arizona, Purdue, and Gonzaga. I almost wish Gonzaga and Purdue were in another region. I could have seen myself picking them to go to the Final Four. I think Purdue's getting hot at the right time. That's a team with all that senior leadership and experience. They just needed to get out of the regular season. This is the time of the year that they've been waiting for. I think we saw that in Chicago this past week, winning a Big Ten championship. They're going to be dangerous. Gonzaga's an interesting team, Gene, because they've been missing their second-best player, Braden Huff's been out for the last 2.5 months. He averages 17 points a game. Don't know if he's going to play this first weekend, but he could potentially be back for the Sweet 16. Mark Few, by the way, has made the Sweet 16, I believe, 9 straight years. So he's one of the best early tournament coaches that there is in college basketball. Even though he hasn't won the big one yet, he's very good at navigating the first couple rounds. If the Zags are able to get past Kennesaw State, the winner of BYU Texas, they could be intriguing. And then I'm looking at Arkansas. I know Wisconsin's been a popular team, and they do have a great backcourt. They shoot a bunch of threes, which, you know, is what you want. If you want a team to pull off big upsets, is that kind of volatility with a team that can get hot from deep. The problem with Wisconsin is High Point is the number 1 team in the country in steals forced per game, and there isn't a single team in the Big Ten this year that's top 100 in steals forced per game. So even though High Point, you know, they play in the Big South, it's obviously nowhere near the conference that the Big Ten is, but this is why we love the tournament, because we get to see, well, is High Point's defense really that good, or are they just feast on some bad competition? I think it's a little of both, but I do think the ball pressure of those guards and the way that they force turnovers is going to be an issue for Wisconsin. High Point's also one of the highest scoring teams in the country. They score 87 a game, so they have the kind of like defense-offense combo that you want in an upset-minded team. And again, with all the threes that Wisconsin shoots, if they have an off night, they could be right for the upset. Arkansas, I think, is the most dangerous team, though, for Arizona in this region, Gene. I did pick Arizona to go out of the West, but I think Arkansas could be the most dangerous because they have the closest thing to Walter Clayton in this tournament with Darius Acuff. Tommy Lloyd has never been past the Sweet 16, and if Arkansas manages to get to the Sweet 16 to face Arizona, Calipari will have a week to develop a game plan. They're a team that can get hot for offensively, so that could be a tricky game for Arizona. I would either take Arizona or Arkansas. I think the winner of that game goes to the Final Four, but I'll ride with the Wildcats.
Okay, so we're taking a 1 seed out of the West in Arizona. On that side, and it's kind of cool. It always wasn't this way, PJ. That the regions are kind of mixed up in these opening rounds. So we're going to get Michigan and Buffalo tomorrow. So anybody that's heading on out, that'll be the primetime game tomorrow night. But I think the one thing that people are like, how do you evaluate Alabama with you can't figure that Aiden Holloway isn't going to be available tomorrow, and you don't know when he's going to be back. So what does this do for Alabama? Your thoughts overall here on the bracket in the Midwest, PJ?
You know, Alabama's ceiling with this draw, Gene, was always going to be the Sweet 16. They have not been able to beat a team with a good front court all year. When they've played Gonzaga, Arizona, Purdue, any of these teams with good big men, they cannot beat them. Florida. So when I saw that they were in Michigan's region, even before the Holloway news, I said, well, you know, at best they win 2 games. But with Michigan's front court, they can't get past them. So I do think they get past Hofstra, even without Holloway. Nate Oates, since he's been in Tuscaloosa, has been unbelievably good regular season and in March Madness against mid-major schools. His style of play with the athletes that they have, the NBA talent that they have, the pace at which they play, it's just really tough for these mid-major schools to deal with that. So Hofstra's good. I mean, they got their conference player of the year in the CAA, the freshman player of the year. They got really good guards. Speedy Claxton is the head coach. People might remember that name in the NBA. So he's built himself a really good team. And I think the concern about Bama is with the Holloway news. Like, what does that do psychologically for the team? Does that throw them off at all? I think that's what I'm most interested in watching. But I don't think they beat Texas Tech even without Toppin. I think the Red Raiders get to the Sweet 16. I do like Michigan to come out of this region, though, Gene. I really do. Iowa State feels like is really popular in this Midwest. And I just think too many people are being swayed on the Cyclones from what they saw in the Big 12 conference tournament. Yes, they did look good in Arizona, But let's just all remember, like, they're not going to look like that for 6 games. They're not going to look like that for 4 games. If you watched Iowa State the last 4 or 5 years under Otzelberger, they always have an offensive stinker. And I think that game's going to come against the winner of Virginia and Tennessee in the Sweet 16. So I got Michigan, UVA, Elite 18, and I got the Wolverines moving on to the Final Four.
Ooh, for the Wolverines, amongst the 4-1 seeds, is that the easiest path, would you say, to the Final Four, the Midwest path?
I actually think it's Florida's region in the South, which I know we'll talk about in a second. But I think that's a little bit weaker than Michigan's region. I do think Iowa State, I think Virginia's probably the strongest of the 3 seeds. And Bama and Texas Tech are 2 of the most prolific three-point shooting teams in the country. So even though I don't think Bama stands a chance, wouldn't like Texas Tech in that game either. I mean, Gene, the one-and-done setting, if either of those teams drop 17, 18 threes, they give themselves a shot.
Yeah. Let's segue over to the South here where, I don't know, just for fun. I was going to ask you about Houston. Who does Houston play, PJ?
They play Idaho, Gene, the Vandals.
The Vandals. Stay up for that tomorrow, 10:10 Eastern time tip. So we know Florida. You kind of like. Is there to me? There seems like there could be at least one upset here. McNeese. All these schools that you know the name, but you don't know too much about them. We're going to roll up our sleeves. VCU. I think we know a little bit about McNeese. Do you have any upsets coming out of this region here, PJ?
Yeah, I think VCU's got a good shot at making the Sweet 16. North Carolina is without their best player, Caleb Wilson. He's done for the season, so that's why the Tar Heels are only a 2.5-point favorite in that game. VCU is one of the hottest teams in the country. They beat Dayton to end the regular season, and then they beat them again in the A-10 title game. They won over George Mason. Like, they have been rolling, and I like their guards a lot. Illinois is such an interesting team. I think with Illinois, they're the kind of team that I would rather bet a future on them rather than put them in my brackets because, Gene, they force the least amount of turnovers in the country. Like, they don't force any kind of turnovers, which I hate because you're not giving yourself any extra possessions and you're relying on that terrific offense, which they have. But they are the kind of team that if they get hot, they could just continue beating people. And there are a lot of teams in this region that are defense first, like St. Mary's, Houston, Florida, all these teams, Nebraska, Vanderbilt, all these teams are very good defensively, and they can't hang offensively with Illinois. So if the Illini are able to maybe survive that round of 32 game, I could see them beating Houston. I could see them beating Vandy, Florida, whatever it may be. So I think they're interesting. But, yeah, there aren't upsets that I picked outright, but I think McNeese and Troy are good bets plus the points against the spread. Troy is my favorite bet, Gene, in round 1 of the tournament because Nebraska has never, ever won an NCAA tournament game before. They've never won one. So I have a hard time believing that Nebraska is going to win tomorrow by 14 or 15 points. I think they win. But, like, when you're trying to do something for the first time and it's been this long, I think all your listeners can agree. If the Bills ever win a Super Bowl, like, do you think that Super Bowl is going to be easy? Do you think they're going to win by 30? Probably not. It's the same line of thinking with Nebraska, where if they win their first tournament game, probably not going to be easy. So I do like Troy in that game, and I like McNeese as well. They're a really good defensive team, and I think they can keep that close.
Yeah, thanks for that analogy, PJ. I appreciate it.
I know. I'm sorry to do that. But I figured it'd paint a nice picture, right, for the listeners.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, perfect. PJ Glasser, our guest here, as we go over to the East, and you get another storyline kind of developing today. Michael Brown will be missing these games. He's really good for Louisville. So how, if at all, does that kind of impact? And again, you've got the story with South Florida and their head coach turning down Syracuse, apparently. So your thoughts on that 6-11 matchup as well as the rest of the East region here, PJ?
Yeah, bummer for Cuse fans because Hodgson's a really good one. So, we'll see if he just decides to stay at South Florida or maybe pursues another job. Gene, I think this is the trendiest upset pick we have in round 1, which makes me very, very nervous. But, I get it. South Florida's really, really good. Louisville hasn't beaten a good team all year. They're without their best player, and their head coach, Pat Kelsey, is 0-5 against the spread and 0-5 straight up in the tournament. Now, again, when he's been in the tournament, it's been with like Winthrop and College of Charleston, so you really can't blame him for all that. But the fact he's never covered a spread and his teams at Louisville the last 2 years just haven't been able to win really any big games, it's concerning for sure. So I do have South Florida winning that game, but it feels like everybody does, which definitely makes me a little bit nervous. Michigan State and UConn, that bottom quadrant, Gene, is so interesting there because I think UConn's the weakest too. Michigan State, is their offense going to show up in one of these games or could they go home? It's very, very interesting to see who could come out of that bottom quadrant. I've seen a lot of people liking UCLA. I think you can make a good case for them. At the end of the day, though, I do have UConn going to the Elite Eight because Hurley's 14-0 against the spread in his last 14 tournament games. Like, I understand UConn got blown out by St. John's in the Big East tournament final. They lost to Marquette, but you get them out of Big East play, you get them in March Madness. Nobody's been able to hang with the Huskies, really. So I'll take UConn in the Elite Eight, and then the top of that region, I think could get a little nuts. I actually have St. John's advancing to the Final Four out of the East, so Gene, I think we could get St. John's, UConn round 4, which not a lot of people are talking about because it is a tough path, but sign me up for that. That'd be fun.
Yeah, St. John's was on my list here. And granted, you're kind of, this is still Big East country. We really never took to the ACC, right? This is just my observation. I think there's tremendous variance on St. John's. I've heard people saying, yeah, it's a Final Four team. I've heard other people say, no, Northern Iowa is going to upset St. John's there. And again, maybe it's only because it's a 5-12 matchup and we feel obligated to pick at least one, right? But your thoughts on St. John's here is, like, if they get by this game, you would feel good about them against Kansas too, PJ.
I would, because I just watched what St. John's did to Braylon Mullins and UConn in the Big East Championship, and I listened to Rick Pitino talk about after the game how Mullins was the guy they were not going to let beat him. They didn't even want him to breathe. They didn't want him to think about shooting. And Mullins is going to be a lottery pick. He's a hell of a player. So I look at that potential matchup against Kansas, and I'm like, well, obviously Pitino and St. John's will try and do the same thing. Now, Darren Peterson's really good. He's going to get his buckets. But if there was a coach that you would trust to limit his scoring, it would certainly be Pitino. And then you look at a potential matchup with Duke in the Sweet 16, who's without their starting point guard, and they can make it easier to key in on Boozer and Evans and try to take those guys away. I just think Pitino is a coach, that defense, even though it's a tough region, I think like the matchups for St. John's are pretty good. So that's why I have them going to the Final Four. And I'll tell you another thing, Gene, winner of Ohio State TCU, going to give Duke a hell of a game in the round of 32. Would not be shocked if either of those teams pull off the upset either. But we got so many legends in that East region, coaching wise. It's going to be really good basketball to see who comes out of the East.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite coach in that region, PJ?
Well, I was just talking about Pitino, but how can you not go with Tom Izzo, Gene, one of our favorites on the show?
And a fun fact, and I know this because every year I go down for my baseball draft to the city, and the place we go to is the home of the Michigan State Boosters of Manhattan there. And when they play, they all chant for Lupe. Lupe is his wife. Lupe Izzo. PJ, that's today's fun fact. PJ Glasser, our guest here, is all right. So we have your Final Four. St. John's being the one that that is not of the norm. The other three being 1 seeds. Who do you have cutting down the nets in April, PJ?
I got Arizona, Gene. I got Arizona. I think it's their year. I think they're the best team. They got 2 lottery picks in Burries and Colapete. They got the Big 12 Player of the Year in Jaden Bradley. They got 2 all-world defenders in Krivas, the big man, Karchenkov on the wing. They bring scoring off the bench with Del Orso. Like, they're the team, man. And I think it's fitting that, they could have a matchup with Arkansas in the Sweet 16 and knock out one of the best players in the tournament. Then Tommy Lloyd could see his old boss in Mark Few and Gonzaga. They could potentially match up with Michigan, the other best team in the country. So the way it's just setting up for Arizona feels like this is their time to break through. I think they're the best team. So Arizona, Gene. That'll be my pick to cut down the nets.
Wow, fantastic stuff. And to think, PJ, by this time next week, we'll be talking about the Sweet 16, and then we will also be on the eve of opening day in baseball. So, like you said, it's just an amazing time of year. Tell everybody where, hey, I want more PJ content here. Tell everybody about the show on YouTube where they can get more stuff here, PJ.
Yeah, Gene, check me out on YouTube, Game Day Garage. We'll be doing, live streams, a lot of videos there. You can follow me on X at PJGlasser9 as well. I'll be giving out some pics and some videos also, and I'll be filling in on Westwood One, doing some shows as well. So a lot of content, Gene, a lot of appearances, a lot of interviews like this, but it's always fun talking this stuff, man. So can't wait for the first round tomorrow. It's going to be awesome as always.
Cannot wait. PJ, thank you for breaking it all down with us. Enjoy the week here, and good luck in your bracket, bud.
You as well, Gene. Appreciate you.
Thanks. That's PJ Glasser joining us here in the Sports Bar. We have time for your calls. Last calls. Get it? Sports Bar, last call. Flicking the lights here. 866-4326. Area code 585, of course, here on WGR Rochester.
Talk. You're in the Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR, Rochester.
Yeah, we love talking baseball here on the show, and we really didn't get to too much. We're just running out of time with the brackets and everything else. World Baseball Classic. I never want to see Mark DeRosa on MLB Network again. Just seeing him and the arrogance that he displayed, not just with not knowing the rules, but then denying it, just lying to your face, because I guess that's the way things are done these days. And then on top of that, you have one of the best closers in the game. You didn't decide to bring him out. Ninth inning. Yeah, that probably would have been a good idea. Mason Miller throws 100 miles an hour. And now, of course, the variable is you're under kind of advisement from the teams individually. But if he's on the team and it's the championship is on the line, what are you doing? You're Buck Showalter at that point. Quick thought here on J.C. Tretter, who is the new head of the NFLPA. And look, we don't want to talk about labor agreements and CBAs. Yawn. You want to talk about the games and how your team is going to get better here. But that's going to be the storyline in baseball, right? Like, enjoy it while we have it, because this time next year, I don't know where that story's headed. The great thing about the NFL, we don't have to worry about this until March of 2031. So the current CBA runs through the 2030 season. Awesome. I think it's silly, and I think it's the NFL propaganda machine that just says it's just a matter of the players accepting the 18th game. Is it really? Really? Because I would think that would be the biggest chip here. I don't think we're getting to an 18th game until the 2031 season. Just my thought. I think it is interesting, though, that the player, the guy, my view of the former head who is charging visits to the adult gentlemen's club, to his union, the guy who on the side was working for a firm that actually wanted to invest in NFL ownership, conflicts of interest, bad juju everywhere. J.C. Tretter worked on that staff. He's a former player, I understand. But they didn't go with the former Hollywood guy. Like, bringing in somebody from the outside, that would have been like, okay, this is different. Ultimately, is it going to be different? When we get to 2031, we'll get to 18 games. And thankfully, the NFL is a sport where, hey, you had to deal with this in 1982. We really haven't had to deal with any labor issues since then. Tomorrow on the show, we will talk brackets. RIT women's coach Melissa Kuberka will join us. Ian Mills from News 10 NBC as well. If you missed any of today's show, including Terrible Timmy's Terrible Take of the Day, you can download the Odyssey app and listen back in the Rewind feature. For Tim Schneider, my name is Gene Battaglia. Show Up in the Bulldog coming your way next here. This is WGR Rochester.
So much